A way to begin. The magnificent voices of the Samford a Capella choir are a fitting introduction to the dedication of this building and grounds today. Your willingness to join us on this day of celebration is overwhelming. Thank you. And celebration is in order this morning because this building, the pavilion, and the meeting house, wrapped in nature's beauty, is a testament to what can be achieved when vision, generosity, commitment, and a lot of hard work come together. So welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus. We are an inclusive place open to all, to people of many backgrounds and many beliefs. A liberal fellowship of shared values. The chalice is the symbol of our fellowship. The chalice speaks to us of reason, tolerance, and freedom. May its flame ever warm and illuminate our lives. Thank you, Ada. I will now read the 7 principles that sum up the core values that Unitarian Universalists support and promote. We affirm, number 1, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregation and in society at large. 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. Each Sunday, we celebrate the human experience. We celebrate life. We do not take communion. We instead make a toast for life, to life. It is an inclusive toast that allows room for everyone to join in. We celebrate life with its beauty and its pain. We lift these cups in tribute to the achievements of human minds and hands, in the sensitivity to the frustrations of misfortune and heartache, not fixing blame or credit for the outcome of chance, sensing the risk, savoring the joy, sharing it all, knowing of the certainty of death, and remembering the value of each moment. We drink our toast of celebration to this time, to the future, and to each other, to the throbbing of the earth and sea and sky with life. Together, we drink this toast in celebration of life. Rick Spradlin is our first speaker this morning. Rick is a special education teacher at Johnson Elementary. He's our vice president for adult education. He's a service leader and often speaks to us on Unitarian Universalist topics. He does it all. He will give the Unitarian Universalist message.
We come together this morning to dedicate this building to a common friend and to a common cause. But what exactly is that cause? How do we explain to the world what Unitarian Universalism is and what is our message? To put it in a nutshell, Unitarian Universalism is a religion whose notion of God is that of a loving father more concerned with his children's behavior on the playground than he is with their grade in theology. Our message is common respect is more important than common belief for an ailing world. In a growing world with shrinking resources, the burning question on our mind is, how do we help over 7 billion people learn to live together on the same big blue marble? We are people of all ages, people of many backgrounds, and people of many beliefs. We create spirituality and community beyond boundaries, working for more justice and more love in our own lives and in the world. Unitarian Universalism affirms and promotes 7 principles grounded in the humanistic teachings of the world's religions. Our spirituality is unbounded, drawing from both Scripture and science, nature and philosophy, personal experience and ancient traditions. In Unitarian Universalism, you can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, your expansive heart. Together, we create a force more powerful than one person or one belief system. As Unitarian Universalists, we do not have to check our personal background and beliefs at the door. We join together on a journey that honors everywhere we've been before. Our beliefs are diverse and inclusive. We have no shared creed, no dogmatic beliefs. For us, what you believe is far less important than how you treat other people. After all, belief is easy. It is love that is the truest test of personal conviction. No one here can tell you what you should believe. For us, there are no experts on the great mysteries of the beyond. Any theological position you have must come from personal insight and exploration. We respect doubt more than certainty when it comes to the bigger questions of life. For doubt encourages us to continue searching for the truth, whereas certainty brings about the end of honest inquiry. A simple analogy might help. Imagine 2 artists painting the same scene, 2 detectives investigating the same mystery, or 2 engineers designing a bridge over the same water. They might take completely different approaches. The paintings, theories, and blueprints might not look alike. And yet each one might feel a sense of comradeship and respect for the other's work. UUs are like that. Many of us disagree about the answers, but we respect each other's efforts to come to terms with the questions.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound, saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, now
Could you just stay a couple weeks? Oh, wonderful. Reverend Ed Wilson has served in the ministry of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He has served as a radio talk show host and a news host here in Columbus. And he served as executive to the mayor of Columbus. He is our adjunct minister. He will provide a little history on our move from a small house to our new facility and the people who made it possible.
So today we dedicate Grace Fellowship Hall. What a waymark for this fellowship. Many of us remember our search throughout this community, looking to replace our home on Double Churches Road. We just needed more room. Parking in the liquor store parking lot across the street was also becoming a problem. Then, good news. Jerry Jordan, son of Grace Jordan, took up our cause, along with John Hart, who became head of the building committee at about that time. John pressed the search, touring and evaluating properties all over the city. And he encouraged the fellowship to proceed with the acquisition. Jerry helped generously, and his enthusiasm spurred us on. He gave us a large amount of money, and he provided needed loans. As the project rolled forward, members and friends of the fellowship also made generous gifts of money and personal labor. And Jerry recruited support from various members of the large Jordan family. So right now, I want to say a big, sincere thank you to Jerry and his entire family. I simply can't say enough in praise of our local members and friends for their generous giving and for their incredible work in the redevelopment of this property. Now let's go back to the beginning. I know Grace Jordan doesn't like to be the center of attention. She's warned me about it. But I don't know how to tell this story without taking note of Grace's challenge gifts, generous gifts. Back in 2013, 2014, she made some very generous gifts to the building fund and challenged others to give as they were able. That, my friends, was the beginning. And the result is what you see right here. Now, Jerry Jordan is a great friend, but he's also a very remarkable man. A father and husband, a businessman, an accomplished musician, a choir director, and a university professor with a doctoral degree. And I am so pleased that I am permitted now to introduce my dear friend, our friend, and our benefactor, Dr. Jerry Jordan.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks so very much. When I began my teaching career here 40 years ago as a 20-year-old, Ed was prominent on the radio, and Dick McMichael and Don Nally were the most prominent newscasters on TV, and I listened to them every day. Ed's voice and his demeanor were so commanding that to me the thought of meeting him scared me. I imagined him being this muscle man, and I never dreamed I'd work with Ed on anything because I didn't want to meet him. But Ed, you have been incredibly instrumental in the acquisition of this building, and I thank you for all the hard work. It would not have happened without Ed Wilson. And I'm not going to name names, but I want to echo exactly what Ed said in naming people and recognizing those that weren't named for all they have done to bring about this magnificent facility for what it is. All of you truly deserve naming, but you just have to take my very heartfelt thanks, because if I started naming, I wouldn't have time to talk about my mama and my dad. Today I want to speak first about my father, George Jordan. He was born in 1914 in Talbotton, Georgia. My dad was a humble merchant, but he was a prince among humble men. Daddy was a learned man. He loved to recite poetry. He was a straight-A student. He listened to opera recordings with his mother as a child. He learned to play piano, and he played cornet in the University of Georgia Dixie Red Coat Band. But after his freshman year, he had to drop out of school during the Depression to help his father, who had lost almost everything. And he and his father worked in this small combination grocery and hardware store in Talbotton. My father inherited the store and ran it from 1935 to 1995, 60 years, pacing the floors of that store in the only job that he ever had. My dad was truly respected by everyone in town. We had a local humor columnist named Boots Birdsong. Boots always wrote with some grain of truth. And Boots said about my daddy, said, George Jordan is a really nice man. Said, George can tell you to go to hell so tactfully, you look forward to the trip. My dad dearly loved my mother as she did him. And he kissed her leaving every time, and he kissed her every time coming. And he called her sweet, and he called her sweet in a manner that told you he did truly love her. And here is young mama. Now my mother is named Grace, and you know her. My mother is Grace. If you look in the dictionary, there are 21 virtues that constitute the definition of grace. And my mother is the embodiment of every one of those virtues. Mama taught us values. I remember that when we became aware as kids, one birthday of Mama's, we arranged to give her presents. She took that occasion to tell us that she never wanted us to give her presents again. She said the only gift of any value that we could give her was to be well behaved and grow up to be good people. So it's only recently that we've begun to celebrate my mother's birthday, and it's only about 5 years ago I realized it was August 30th, isn't it, Mama? I believe that's what it is. You know, when I was a kid, small things make so many differences in the life of a kid. There were only 2 or 3 TV stations, and there were seemingly only a couple of magazines, and if you read it in Reader's Digest, or you heard Walter Cronkite say it on TV, it was the gospel truth. You just didn't dispute it. That was what our society was like back then. And one day I was reading something that I thought was rather earth-shaking in Reader's Digest. And I ran to Mama and I related it to her. And Mama looked at me and she asked me one small question. She said, "Do you believe everything you read?" And with that, my mother set a spark. She set my thinking free. And as a small child, I started thinking for myself. I was no longer a blind believer in whatever I read, whatever I was told, or even whatever the preacher said on Sunday morning. I was relieved of thoughtless conformity. And to see everything in a wider and more discriminating context has been such a wonderful thing for me. Another small question changed my mother's life. In 1985, she saw an ad in the Ledger Enquirer. And it was a simple ad from this fellowship, and it said, "Do you have doubts?" And Mama started traveling to Columbus, met first in a motel room with this group, then in Dr. Ben Pike's waiting room, then in a small house, and now in this magnificent facility. More importantly, from that small question, Mama has made so many wonderful friends here who are now my friends. Small things make a big difference. And what wonderful people to have as friends. You know, the people in this fellowship, they know of human imperfection. They know that even two highly intelligent people can have sincere disagreement about very important things. And so this fellowship will not ever presume to know with absolute certainty the truth of any one belief or another. But you will never meet a group of people who are more caring for or loving of each other than this group of people. And you'll never meet a group that is more caring of the concerns for humanity. This group richly deserves this new facility, this new campus. And it has been my honor and my privilege to have this opportunity to help them acquire this facility. As regards my parents, in all my life I've never known of two finer examples of what people ought to be than my mama and my daddy. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart on behalf of my family for honoring them on this day. Thank you.
Now it's time for our act of dedication, and that involves everybody. So we dedicate this house for singing and preaching and praying, for serving, outreaching, and saying good words that will help and heal and motivate, for stopping and thinking, for planning and dreaming, we dedicate this house. For worship and lively pursuit of truth and meaning, to affirm and promote the UU way, the principles we cherish, as a place of learning, exploring, and challenge, we dedicate this house. For our children and youth, for young and for old, for teachers and seekers, for those who aspire to lofty ideals and to noble, challenging goals, we dedicate this house. For our dreams and our hopes, our laughter and tears, for marking and celebrating life's passages, the difficult and the joyful, for consideration of our ultimate concerns, we dedicate this house. as a place of beauty, of music, art, poetry, and dance, as a place of love and safety, where hearts and minds can connect despite differences, as our congregation's home, the home we love and long to share with other seekers and dreamers, we dedicate this house. In honor of our beloved Grace Jordan and her late husband, George, we have lovingly named this place Grace Fellowship Hall. And as such, we dedicate this house. This plaque will be mounted permanently in the foyer of the Fellowship House. What do you think?
But as we come to a close, it's time to extinguish the chalice. Knowing how quickly the flame of freedom might be extinguished, how easily the chalice of fellowship is broken, let us be vigilant in our quest, keep peace in our hearts, and make care for one another the watchword of our lives, so our light goes out everywhere into the world.